Hello and welcome to Sheffield Hopcast, our first episode of a new year. Welcome to 2021. Not a lot's changed, to be honest, but we'll talk about that as we go through this evening. The theme for our podcast this week is dry or try, because obviously we are in the midst of dry January, a few people doing that, or dry January, if you want to say that, and also triannuary as well. So we've got those two different things going on. One, obviously, which is encouraging people to have a month off the beer. The other, which is encouraging you to kind of, moderate, but to try some new stuff that maybe you've not had before. So each member of the panel and our guest this evening, you have the choice of whether or not you try a new beer or whether or not you go dry. So let's see who is doing what, and let's say hello to Adam first of all.
New Year. I've stuck with the alcohol-free this time. I've gone for a Ghost Ship by Adnams, which is available in full strength as well, and it's a bit of a classic beer, I suppose. It's kind of bridges that traditional and sort of more modern craft brewing. I think they were one of the first people to use Citra in a beer, so I'm assuming they use the same hops in these things. But this is a 0.5% version. Value for money as well, 500 ml. I have had it before, and it is one of the alcohol-free beers, which I do think kind of stands up on its own, I suppose. It's got a good, doesn't have that kind of chemically taste that some of the kind of lower down the pecking order alcohol-free beers tend to have. So enjoy this one.
What is its strength normally? It's not particularly strong beer.
4.5, I think, something like that. It's under 5, but yeah.
Cool, good stuff. All right, Laura is wearing her a new jumper. Do you call it a jumper? It's not really a jumper, is it? Is it a jacket, cardigan?
It's like some kind of cross between a cardigan and a woolly poncho. I don't really know. It's really warm and really cozy, and it was a tenner from a weigh-in vintage shop in Leeds when we got on our little mini break back in September. And it was one of the hottest days of the year, and I had to carry it around Leeds all day, but I'm pleased I did.
See, so, I bet everyone thought that you were absolutely loon for buying like a massive, big, thick cardigan cross poncho. And now who's laughing, eh?
Well,
you get the last laugh on that one. What direction have you gone in beer-wise?
So, I mean, I'm not very good at sticking to these rules that we make ourselves. So I've gone sort of in between in a way. I've brought a 2% low alcohol beer. I've gone for a grapefruit and lemon Occasim Radler because I think really I'm more of instead of a non-alcoholic beer, I would generally prefer to choose like either something shandy-ish or one of the kind of new sodas that are popping up. So I think I've had a Cloudwater soda on one of our earlier recordings. I've just put an order in with Square Root in London, who make sort of mixers and sodas and they're kind of promoting as an alternative for people doing dry January, but still something tasty. So, but that hasn't arrived yet. So yeah, I've gone for on my kind of shandy side and a 2% Radler. So I got this from Jabberwocky on London Road just before Christmas.
I think that does fit nicely in the middle, so you're kind of straight down the line. I'm interested to see what the percentages of people that go dry versus try. I'm going to go next. So I've been on a weird journey this week with my beer selection because my intention was to go dry, and I was going to get the alcohol-free version of Club Tropica or Tropicana, whatever it's called now, from Tiny Rebel. I've seen it in a couple of places and thought, oh, that's interesting. And then I stopped and kind of had a moment, and I thought, see, the reason that I like that beer is it tastes like lilt, but like, made into a beer. So surely if you take the alcohol out, then what you're left with is lilt. So I struggled to get my head around the idea of it. So went in a completely different direction. So
you brought a can of lilt.
I didn't bring a can of lilt. I did think about that. I thought that'd be really funny, wouldn't it? It's a lot cheaper. But no, so I've gone try, and I am if you can see that, it's a North beer, and this is their dark lager with Donzonko. So Dark lagers are something that I've never really particularly explored very much. I think I probably have had a couple, but not a style that I particularly get into. So I thought this is something quite new for me. Not particularly boozy, 4.5%. So I thought, yeah, good selection. Not had a North beer for a while, so looking forward to this. That's mine. Sean, what direction have you gone in?
I'm a trier, largely because of my memory, James. We in the shop we've got no alcohol beers from Sam Smith's, from Thornbridge, Egir in Norway, Lervig. We've got all no alcohol coming this week. Lucky Saint coming this week as well, but I forgot all about it, and so I am a trier. I have no alcohol beer in the house. I've never actually done a dry period, other than me and Deborah have a drink on a Monday night and then don't drink again until Thursday. That is our dry period each week, so we're pretty consistent with that. But other than that, I've never actually gone a long period without having a drink. The beer I've gone for tonight it's a fancy pants sounding beer, salted caramel chocolate donut stout, 7%. It's from a brewery actually at Umbard, who we started to stock over the last 6 months or so. And despite the fancy pants nature of the ingredients, salted caramel chocolate donut stout, I've always found with Umbard, who are based in Brighton, by the way, down on the south coast, they do deliver. They have a beer called Bueno Shake, which is lovely chocolate, sort of hazelnut. They've just released a Bakewell tart sour. I've not had it, but lots of customers who have bought it have really praised it as well. And so I think a brewery on the up for 2021. Happy New Year to everyone, by the way. But yes, I'm going for a 7% donut chocolate salted caramel stout. A real try.
It sounds good, that, Sean. I can't disguise that. It does sound like a cracking beer, although not entirely kind of a Sunday night beer, but
it does go big sometimes. It does.
I've got a couple of hoppy beers in the fridge to have after this from North Riding and Five Towns. So I thought, let's just go dark. Nice winter job. It's pouring really beautifully. Gorgeous head on it. Oh, excuse me, I'm forgetting everyone can see that already. I thought I was describing that and just verbally.
Well, I mean, people listening to the podcast obviously can't, so a splendid job,
of course,
as ever. Good stuff. Right, we have a guest with us. Robin, hello, good evening. Just kind of in your own words, tell us who you are and why you're here and what your beer is.
I'm Robin. I run AF Beer Club, which is a monthly subscription service to alcohol-free beers. Every month we send 8 different AF beers out to customers. And yeah, it's obviously been more and more popular over the last few months with people kind of thinking about their drinking over lockdown, and then obviously going into dry January as well. And you know, it's just a section of the beer market that's just going to keep growing and growing. And I'm based in Sheffield, so I set it up here in the summer in my house, and then it's grown on a bit since then, and we're up to about 100 members now that get the monthly boxes. So yes, it's going really well, and I sort of do loads of stuff on social media as well. Yeah, it's going really well, and it's just great to have sort of a community, not just in the UK but around the world, who they love beer and they also like alcohol-free beer. You know, it's their passion is for beer as a whole. I think a lot of the members, but they want something for those, you know, like Sean said, Monday to Thursday, where you know you don't want to have your 7.8% beers, or people that don't drink at all. So that's what the AF Beer Club is.
Bro, good stuff. And what are you supping at the moment?
I've got, actually Sean mentioned it just now, it's the Sam Smith Brown Ale, another good winter one. Yeah, straight off the shelf, you know, not in the fridge or anything, nice and warm, and yeah, really nice winter alcohol-free beer. Actually, they were one of quite a few sort of bigger breweries, more traditional breweries that launched alcohol-free options last year. So it's good to see more and more craft breweries, big breweries getting into the market as well.
I had no
Yeah,
idea
absolutely.
Sam Smith did an alcohol-free beer.
Well, I think it's new. I think it said it's this last year, and then I've not seen that one before either.
Yeah, it was it's sort of back end of last year, I think. They had it in I can't remember what is it called Church, the place at the back of yeah.
The vegan and
yeah, we went in there one night and they had it in there with a load of the Nirvana beers as well. Nirvana are a alcohol-free brewery, completely alcohol-free brewery in London. And yeah, they had a load of their beers in there as well. So.
I think the last one I had was the Northern Monk one, which is based on the Striding Edge kind of alcohol-free version of that. I think I really enjoyed that. It was really good. I wasn't even planning on buying it actually. It was was in Barstow. I was picking up something for an episode for this actually. When I had that Pastor Sour, and somebody in there said, "Have you tried this yet?" And we've always shouted quite loud about like low alcohol beers, and I thought, do you know what? You know, that beer at 2.8, I think it was the one that's up from that, was really good, and I thought it's really worth trying that, and it was really, really good. Like really, I didn't feel like missing anything.
They took a lot of time developing that to make sure it was right. You know, I think they had like samples in the summer, and then it was only sort of December time when they released it to a wider audience. I think. Yeah, there's a risk of getting it out too early and it not being as good as, like, you know, I think they're perfectionists. And they've just released another one as well. Is it Faith? Their big one.
Right.
They've done a
Holy Faith.
Yeah.
Brilliant. We've talked about certainly low alcohol beers and alcohol-free beers a few times. I think, you know, I've kind of told the story of, I remember when, you know, Caliber was the only thing that was available on the market, and then it was just Beck's Blue was the only thing that's available on the market. How far it's come since, barely a decade ago, is just insane, really. Like you don't go in bottle shops now and find that they don't have an alcohol-free section. They all do, and it's, you know, it's become a really big part of the market, which is important because it wasn't, and it kind of needed to be taken seriously. It was almost a bit jerky, wasn't it? Like alcohol-free beer a few years ago. So the fact that, you know, you've got really big breweries that are doing some really good beers. And Laura, I remember an episode back end of last year, you had one of the Cloudwater sodas, that's alcohol-free, isn't it? And you had Hotburn from that because it was just so powerful.
Yeah,
it's just brilliant that we've got all that, so much stuff that's happening in that space now that just gives so many options. Robin, then what's your kind of backstory then? What led you to that point? Have you just never been like an alcohol drinker? What's kind of like your story?
I was a big drinker actually. Like kind of normal drinking at uni, and then getting into craft beer. You know, when you get a job and you have a bit of money and you realize that there's nicer beers than like 4 packs of Carling, then loved it all. You know, visiting breweries, beer festivals, just really love it. Got into it, and then probably about 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago now, I just had actually it was January time, so I decided I was gonna have a little break from it, and then I think I did 6 weeks off, and then went back to drinking again, and kind of just found it was just affecting me a lot more, and I just didn't enjoy it as much as I did before. So I had a bit, and then after that, I decided I was just going to knock it on the head for a bit, just see how it goes. And it ended up being 18 months, I think I went. I didn't know anything over 1%. So technically 0.5 is sort of alcohol free, but I wanted to see what else is in that space, if there's anything weird and different, like and then since then as well, like before Christmas I started drinking a little bit, you know, like the low ones we've been speaking about, stuff like the super Striding Sedge and the Whiplash and stuff like that, which has been really interesting to sort of see so now, before I was judging the alcohol-free beers sort of against my memories of alcohol beers, and now I can go to the alcohol beers and kind of compare them to what I like in alcohol-free beers, if that makes sense. So even stuff like I had like the Beak. I think there's a 3.5% Beak beer I had before Christmas, and I just found it just overwhelmingly hoppy. Like it was just so much, and I'm sure before it would have just felt like a weak sort of table beer that I would have drunk easily. But now going to it, I don't know, I kind of look at it in a different way. So but now I just sort of save myself for when the pubs are open, I think I might have a couple of pints of cask ale, but I don't think I'm that keen on drinking too much again. But yeah, so yeah, I just love beer, and when I stopped drinking, I didn't really want to give up on that whole world. So I made it kind of my hobby to get as involved in that as I could. So since then, I've put on loads of events and obviously set up the box, subscription box, and yeah, kind of promoting that side of the beer industry.
So you finding that? Sorry, go on, Laura. You go first.
I was just going to say we've kind of touched on it briefly before, but the amount of choice that's kind of available now, and the number of breweries that are kind of taking steps towards releasing something a little bit different, whether it is a soft drink option or a low alcohol beer, is just, I think, because we had a dry month, I think it was maybe 4 years ago, and there was very, very little choice available. And it's, now the fact that it's not just the bigger breweries, but it is people like Northern and that kind of thing, and the specialist breweries like Nirvana and Big Drop as well. It's really exciting that it's just for me, I think it's kind of difficult for me to kind of get too involved in that side of thing when I work for a brewery that doesn't offer an alcohol-free option, but it's all part of, to me, making the beer industry as a whole more accessible and available to more people, and working together to achieve that. So yeah, I think it's
absolutely, yeah, I think, and it gives it gives the whole that part of the industry, when the big breweries do the bigger breweries and the craft beer names that we know, when they do get involved in it, it doesn't become like a laughing stock anymore, like we said before. Like it gives it a bit of oomph, and you've got those reputations going into it. So yeah, I think now it's just been normalized. I think now, if you went into, I think when we go back to pubs, I think we'll see draft AF beer, I think, but people drinking non-alcoholic beer, it'll be normal. Like we won't even question it. And yeah, and that's through all the hard work that all the breweries have put into it. Like you mentioned Big Drop, like what they've done, they've just completely changed the game, really, when it comes to alcohol-free beer. Yeah, I think that's it, and it means that people don't feel, like you said, it's accessible. People don't feel left out. If they don't want to drink, you can still have a great beer. You can still talk about it with your friends because it's the same brewery that you visited together last year. It's the same brewery they're drinking as well. There just happens to be a few percentage points more. Yeah. So it just becomes a lot more accessible.
Sean, how have you kind of seen habits change in that regard? I imagine when you first set up, there probably wasn't very much that you could even particularly stock in terms of alcohol-free or even low alcohol beers.
We didn't. Yeah. I was sort of scoffing of the idea, perhaps, to be brutally honest. For some years, we've been open just over 7 years now, and certainly for 5, almost 6 years, I suppose, I wouldn't have even considered the idea of stocking something that was no alcohol. And I think Thornbridge changed things in terms of what we did with their 05, which was Big Easy, of course, originally. And I think that was a vital point Robin's mentioned there, that when you've got a brewery that is so what Big Drop and Nirvana and everyone else have done is great in filling that gap and taking an opportunity. But they were new names and they were difficult still to push and be involved in. But when you've got a brewery that people are very familiar with, and somebody subs Jaipur for 15 years, and then they bang out a no alcohol beer, that's where things change for us, definitely. So I think that's important. Robin said that yes, you can sit in a pub and you might be on 05 and someone else might be on Jaipur, and there's a link. Then there's a link, and so that was vital for us. Sam Smith's again came along then in 2020, a little bit out of the blue. Perhaps you wouldn't expect a brewery of their nature. They deliver this sort of small brewery. We've got some Shire horses and ethos, but behind that ethos is a very smart company there, and they do things brilliantly in terms of how we connect with them as a business to business, and they've jumped on it straight away and delivered a really good beer. Actually, I've not heard Robin's thoughts on it yet, but lots of customers buy that beer and again report back really favourably about it. But I think Thornbridge changed things as far as Beer Central was concerned, and then gave us the confidence then to be able to build on that. I think Thornbridge have just done another Adam would probably know the name of it, is a Thornbridge expert. They've done a collaboration with Honest Brew, so it's not yet available to trade in a wider sense. But they've done a collaboration just in the last few days. I've forgotten its name. I've seen it and asked them about it, but it's not yet available other than through Honest Brew, I believe, at the moment, and Thornbridge, of course.
Last year, Thornbridge as well. They did a milk stout, alcohol free. And it was their
they did. Yeah.
The first one, wasn't it? Is it the year of the beer that they?
Yes, little by little.
Little by little, yeah.
Yeah, to launch that whole thing with that beer, I thought was, it just showed their intentions, and it was a great beer. And they had it on draft in the pubs as well. It's really good.
I found dark beers to be the one that's very like a tricky one to get right. I think people are hitting that kind of pale ale market. I think I think people are sticking with that for a while. I mean, and I don't always like bringing up Brewdog, but there were one point maybe a year ago when they'd done Nanny State, which I always liked Nanny State, but then all of a sudden they had Punk AF, Hazy AF, they had their like Sour Blitz AF as well, and then I think they did a dark one as well. Like they're all available in like the 4-packs and stuff, so they obviously see some kind of market there as someone who's probably quite a bigger craft brewery, I suppose.
Adam, Adam, I should apologise to Brewdog because we stopped Nanny State perhaps 3-4 years ago, but it was always just a beer just to have bunged away in the corner, and it wasn't until Thornbridge knocked out their range that things started to perhaps from a retail sense become more serious. But Nanny State I thought was an outstanding beer at the time, and I've not had it for a while, but I know that I've had lots of no alcohol beers now that are better than Nanny State. So whether they've changed it or not recently, I've not had one, I've got to admit, but I thought it was a great attempt from them originally. But I've had lots of better beers since. I'm also interested in Adam's beer, Ghost Ship. What does everyone think from a sort of sales point of view, marketing point of view, in having two beers within your range, both with the same name? And I know, does it say no alcohol on it, Adam, on the end of it? But it always brings a bit of confusion about things. I had one at a New Barrack Tavern. I might have even had it at New Barrack Tavern when we did our podcast there, if I was driving, and really enjoyed it. But it just seems an odd thing to have, to me anyway, to have two beers in your range with the same name. But that's obviously trying to ride on the success of the original.
There are breweries doing that, aren't there? I've seen a couple of breweries do that. It also reminds me of a story of when I went on holiday to Sitges in Spain with some friends. We had 2 weeks in a villa. This is probably about 15 years ago or something. And we we went to the shop to stock up on beer. We must have bought, I don't know, over 100 cans of San Miguel. And it's not until we got back, having carted it up this long winding road up to this villa at the top of a hill, that we realised that we'd bought all alcohol-free beer. Because we just saw San Miguel and just assumed, like, it didn't exist in the UK at that time.
You were ahead of the game, James.
I know why you did it, James. If you look at the bottle of the zero alcohol San Miguel, blue and white stripes, and there's two big eyes, then there's like a V it looks like Aussie Owl, basically. Honestly, it's
that's it. I was drawn by Aussie Owl. By the way, Sean, the beer that you were talking about, Thornbridge, it's called Fresh Start. I've just looked it up.
Yes, thank you.
That's the one.
Sorry, I was going to say, we're just going to say, it's dropped out of my head now. Yeah, carry on, Robin. You were going to say something.
I was going to say, I think what it is obviously funny when you hear people about getting the wrong beers, but I think sometimes like that can be people's first experience of alcohol-free beer, and like then after that they're like, oh shit, I don't want to go back to that anymore. That reminds me of that time where I really wanted to just get stuck into the beers by the pool, and instead I just got all these alcohol-free beers. But also go the other way, and then you might go, actually, I accidentally bought the Tiny Rebel Club Tropicana and thought it was the real one, and actually it's nice, and I'm probably going to buy it again.
I've remembered what I was going to say now. It's to do with this the San Miguel thing. Spending quite a lot of time in Spain because my in-laws have a place there, but over the last 5 or 10 years, well, probably 5 years, I think virtually all of the lager brands have a zero alcohol now, and I think maybe 6 or 7 years ago you'd have the odd one, but it feels like you can get in every bar or anything. They will, if you ask for an alcohol beer, they'll give you, whether it's Alhambra or whether it's Estrella, Dam or Mahou or like I said, San Miguel, they've all got them, and it probably annoying that it comes down to, I think their like drink driving like limit is a lot lower than us. I think it's almost like a no tolerance to it. So I think if you are going out for a meal, it's virtually not worth risking anymore, because I think they're a lot tighter than they are over here. So I think maybe that's where the kind of bigger brands, they're probably all owned by the same company anyway. But you find a lot more than you did maybe over 5 years ago.
James, I'm interested in Sitges. Did you fill the pool with the non-alcohol San Miguels, or did you get through them all?
I honestly, I wish I could remember, but I can't. I think we did. I think we drank some of them. I think we went back to the shop and bought some proper beer, and then it became kind of like almost like a mix and match thing. That, if you'd had a couple and the sun started to hit you a bit, and you were like, "Going to ease off a bit. I'm going to have one of the alcohol-free ones." So I think it worked quite well, actually. It's a good kind of moderator. That's it, yeah. I mean, looking at it now in hindsight, like how did we not realise that meant that it was alcohol free? For us, I think we just thought it was a fancy design on them. But anyway, it was very much kind of, it was a lesson learned, but it was also like something explored as well. It was interesting. So right, this is obviously first episode we've done after Christmas and New Year and stuff. So normally I guess we'd probably talk about Christmas and we'd talk about New Year and best beers we've had and stuff, but it feels like ages ago now, doesn't it? It just feels like so much has happened since Christmas and everything else. So we are obviously we're back in lockdown. We're in lockdown 3. I mean, we've had pubs and stuff shut for ages anyway, so it kind of almost feels like water off a duck's back. We just kind of pick ourselves up and get on with it. But as we always kind of do at this point, kind of going into lockdown, it's just how is everyone doing? Is everyone all right and kind of coping with everything? Laura, how are you getting on with lockdown the 3rd?
I think all right. I think I'm just kind of resigned to it now. I think I'm a little bit flabbergasted that with the new rules, yet again, pubs have managed to be penalised, when you think, what else can they take away from them? And now you're not allowed to do takeaway from a pub. That's a bit of a blow. I think a lot of the spirit has gone out of people. Like, I know a lot more people that are really struggling with it this time, because we kind of thought things were getting better, and you get to 2021 and it's like, right, come on then, let's crack on with a new year, and that's not what's happened. So I think people generally have kind of been a bit struck down a bit sooner by the darker nights and all of that kind of thing. But I'm just trying to see the positives in it and finding myself things to look forward to. Like it's my birthday at the end of the month, so we've already made a few little nice at-home plans for that. Just trying to take it one step at a time and not let things get too on top of me, really.
That jacket, by the way, makes it look like you've got shoulder pads on.
It is quite.
It's
I'm taking up a lot more of the screen than I usually do, but it's saving me money on my heating bill. So
that's good. I've got a onesie that I just basically live in all winter, have done for the last 2 or 3 years, that I just absolutely love, and it's just brilliant, and it's really big, thick, kind of fleecy thing that's just super, super warm. But the problem is, once I'm in it, that's it. I'm like, I'm not getting out of this now. I'm just gonna have to go to work wearing this and all that kind of stuff. Just can't bring myself to get out of it. Good stuff. Everyone else, how are we getting on?
I think it's been the hardest one. This, I think you agree. I think it's kind of knocked the wind out of everyone's sails. I think this is obviously the first week in January is always a bit of a tough slog to get out of bed for, and I think with one day back into school, we're told a minute's notice that you're going to be a teacher the next day again, like that late that we couldn't even tell Penelope she weren't going to school the next day because you were already in bed. So then it's all back to a school teacher and full-time working. So yeah, bring on the booze, soften the blow. But now it's I think we've just got to crack on, haven't we? Really, and just don't lose sight on it. I mean, I've been out a few times today, and it doesn't really look like a lockdown to me. But I think maybe there'll be tighter things on the horizon to kind of try and curb some of that stuff. Might be like, I know they are limiting, your outings and stuff, but I still think you can kind of use that to your advantage if you want to try to get out more. You could go to the shops and then go for exercise and class it as 2 ones. I think that might get. I think we could do with going back to a bit more like lockdown 1, where it's just a bit. I just don't think we've got the culture for it like some other countries. I think we're just a little bit lazy and a bit selfish in some points, and I think that's probably why we're still quite far away from from it ending, I think. But yeah, that's not very beery, but it's true.
No, it's a fair point, and I think, I mean, obviously we have got vaccine program on the horizon, which gives us at least some kind of hopefully like an exit point from the whole thing. But you're quite right that I'm just amazed at the number of cars that are on the road, even just like middle of the afternoon and stuff. And you sort of think, I'm not judging anyone, but you kind of think, where are all these people going? What are they doing and stuff? Like, you're not doing the school run because kids aren't at school. Like, you can't be on your way to or from work middle of the afternoon, like all these people. So I don't know. You're right. I think spirit has been broken a bit.
James, I can only offer anecdotal evidence in terms of nothing scientific, but I spent a lot of time in lockdown 1 out delivering and driving around Sheffield, and that continued, of course, and continues again next week. And lockdown 1, I would say, was exemplary behaviour from everyone, in terms of very few people out and everyone sort of paying attention. And lockdown 2, I hardly noticed any difference at all in terms of footfall in the city centre and road traffic. Lockdown 3, definitely, we've only got the evidence from Tuesday, I think it was. Definitely less people about again. Absolutely, definitely, that's the case. And there have been less cars on the road in terms of our journeys to and from Sheffield over the last week. So lockdown 2 seems as if that was the throwaway sort of effort. It was just up to Christmas, so people sort of just continue with their general daily lives. But I do think there has been just a checking of things during lockdown 3. And the vaccine program, of course, has been rolled out increasingly over the last week, and will continue to be so. I thought there was the most telling thing I heard over the last week or so from Boris was the mention of the 5th of April. I know we've got this current lockdown up to half term. I think it's almost bound to continue. And the one thing that will save us all is the weather. It made a massive impact last year. and I think that's going to be the case. If we have a really nice warm March, or certainly April, which is Easter, then I think almost before the vaccines have the countrywide impact, the weather will intervene. We'll all be outside more, and that made that if you look at the statistics over last summer, things dropped to an incredibly low level, and the weather, I think, will save us before anything else.
The two combined kind of feels like that hopefully we are going to lose the start of the year, aren't we? Like we can see it kind of fading away in front of us. January, obviously, February, I think we can pretty much write off, and probably the majority of March. We're going to be in some form or another. But then you kind of think there is that bit more optimism, isn't there? From April, and there may be one of us on this call that has a fairly big birthday coming up in April. So fingers crossed, we'll be aiming to get away somewhere for a few days for that. So I guess we'll just have to kind of see how it all goes.
Am I being silly? Is this you, James? Is it? Are you the birthday boy? I wasn't sure there. Is it? Dear, dear, oh dear. Well, at least the rest of us have got something to look forward to this year.
Brilliant.
James's
Thank
birthday.
you. Lovely. We'll do, if we're still in some kind of lockdown by then, we're doing it as a Hopcast episode. That's going to be my birthday due. Robin, obviously,
Can we do it? Can we do it in our onesies? Obviously, that means I would be naked, James. But I would imagine you'd enjoy wearing your onesie.
I'm fine with that, Sean. As long as you know where the camera off button is, don't you, on your Zoom settings? As long as you.
I don't actually know.
Robin, I'm intrigued about kind of your. I mean, obviously, I'm guessing that it was kind of lockdown that led to you setting up the box service that you've been doing. So, kind of your thoughts about that. And my other question to you is, best alcohol-free beer that you've had, and worst alcohol-free beer that you've had.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. The boxes start. I'm a primary school teacher, so I was at home from that first lockdown. When was that? March, middle of March. And yeah, so I think it was by about May half term. I had a week off, and I put everything together to try and get this off the ground. And I'd already kind of developed a bit of a following on social media and stuff. So there was already people that were keen for the boxes, and yeah, then it just grew from there. And I think you probably discussed it before, but I think it's gone through waves, hasn't it? Of people's drinking. There was a big spike in people drinking quite a lot, and then there's a drop off, I guess, and then people looking for alternatives. So yeah, no, it's going really well. And since then, because I couldn't really handle it at home anymore, especially when I had to go back to school, I now work with a online store called Wise Bartender, who they package all the boxes, they do all the logistics, and I kind of choose the beers and do all of the promotion for it, and we work together to get those boxes out. So that's kind of how it's grown over the last what is it, 7 months now, I think it's been. So best and worst beers. Wow, I don't know. I think I've probably had it's been 2 years, over 300 alcohol-free beers. So I tell you what, the best maybe might have been the Guinness that was released last year. Did you guys get to try that before?
Not yet. No, it was recalled, wasn't it? There was some issue with it.
No.
They had it out for about 2 weeks. I absolutely love Guinness. I was brought up on Guinness by my dad. Just all of my fond memories of growing up, I've got a Guinness in my hand, and not from 16, 17, not as
I was going to say, it sounds like there's a very different story emerging here.
So so we're still breaking the law at 16 and 17, but that feels comfortable.
It was with a meal, Sean. It's fine.
Oh yes, sorry.
And yes, so when they released that, and then I think it was quite hard to track down at first, but I just needed to get it, and it was so good, and it was exactly what I remember Guinness being like. I know some people have kind of tried it side by side, and there is a slight difference in the body, I think, more than anything. But like, yeah, for me, it was just, yeah, it was amazing. So it was such a shame that it went. I literally thought, like, I don't need to drink any other beers. Like, there's no point me doing these subscription boxes anymore, because every month will just be 8 Guinness. So yeah, I mean, it was fantastic. But I've had some great stuff from all over the world. Went to Germany and Poland last summer, and that was kind of a bit of a research trip. And what they're doing in Poland, alcohol free, that they seem to be about a year ahead of everyone else when it comes to developments there. Worst, I don't know. There is a lot of bad ones. The big brewer European lagers, you know, Beck's is just not that great, is it? It's an easy one to hate. But yeah, probably that, I'd say. That'd be the one I'd avoid.
Robin, if you went into a bar and that was the option for the no alcohol, and there were other beers then available that were alcohol, what would you do under those circumstances?
So, well, now it depends what the percentage of the other beers were. If there was sort of like a session, like low mid 3s, under 4,
you go for that.
I'd have a half of that probably. But like a year ago, I would have had I don't know, a cup of tea or a lemonade or something.
All right.
You know, and that's why I've been, you know, doing this and trying to shout up about these things, because it's not good enough that pubs only offer Beck's. And like you said before, it's so rare now that that's the case. Like it's been, you know, if you went into a pub now and it only had Beck, you'd be very surprised. I think they've at least got a brew dog or something.
You did touch on something there, which is one of my favourite things. Drinking a cup of tea in a pub is brilliant. It's such an underrated thing. It reminds me of another story. I've got all the stories tonight of when this, again, is quite a long time ago. I was DJing in a nightclub, and it was actually
name it, James. Come on, name the nightclub.
No, it doesn't exist anymore. Let's put it that way.
DJ name then.
And one of the staff came over and said, "Oh, do you want a drink? What do you want?" And I was like, "Do you know what I really want? I want a cup of tea." So I was DJing in a nightclub, something like 2 a.m, drinking a cup of tea. It was like the best moment of my entire life. It was
Adam, DJ PG is what it was called after that.
One thing when I stopped drinking, and obviously I still love going to the pub, was at first you I don't know, there's such, especially a couple of years ago, asking for an alcohol-free beer, you sometimes did get laughed at. You know, it was such a lowly regarded thing that once you do it a few times, like you don't really care. So you don't really care if you ask, like, I'll just have a cup of tea. Like, you're not bothered about what the barman thinks, because, you know, you sell a cup of tea, I'll have a cup of tea. But yeah, thank God it's changed now, and there's so many, like,
there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
How many sugars, James? How many sugars, James?
None, and it's black tea as well. It has to be black tea. I'm all about the black
grief.
tea. Not into that cow juice stuff. Right, Adam, how's your Ghost Ship 0.5 been?
It's gone. Its aroma, initial aroma is really good. It's got like really citrusy, and I have drunk quite a bit of Ghost Ship because my in-laws are all from down that way, so I could get through quite a lot. So on the nose, it's quite accurate, but you're still missing out on that body thing. But it's a good beer. It doesn't have that kind of chemically taste. I mean, if you're going to have one, you know, it's widely available. Go and get one. And plus, you get a big bottle, so you can nurse it for a bit while everyone drinks all their pints. But yeah, it's good. It's good. I've had it a few times. Like I said, I bought 2, in fact, because I thought, well, I'll have one other time. I'm sure there'll be a day where I'll need a day off.
Was there a deal on? Was there a deal on, Adam, for buying 2? There must have been a deal. No.
To be honest, actually, like in supermarket, I saw it. Well, they were a bit of money off. I think it were only about £1.10 or something, reduced from. I don't know whether they just got too much of it or something and thought, yeah, no one's gonna be drinking this in these circumstances. Everyone needs something to take the edge off. Maybe they didn't, but yeah. Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know who else stocks it independently, but it is widely available in supermarkets. So.
Good stuff. Laura and the Radler.
It bears very little resemblance to beer, but it's delicious. It is more like kind of lilty actually. But yeah, I really interesting that you mentioned Poland as well, Robin, because I think I really love this type of drink. And in Poland, we went there maybe 2 years ago, and there are shelves full of 30 different flavors of them, and they do you can get completely alcohol-free versions as well in a lot of the kind of bigger lager brands, and yeah, I've kind of been on the hunt for them ever since I came back from that holiday. It made a really big impression on me, so yeah, I was really pleased to find this, and I really enjoy them, and as something that's an option when I don't want to have very much alcohol. They're fun. Like I said, I don't think they're really a beer alternative, to be honest, but I've enjoyed it.
Good stuff. The North Dark Lager, very, very nice. Actually, quite. I thought it'd be a little bit sharp, but it's really gentle, very smooth, and super drinkable. Yeah, maybe dark lager is something I should give a proper try to. And
is it quite malty? Is it got malty?
Not really. A little bit malty.
Sometimes you quite
malty though.
I'm not sure, because sometimes you do, don't you? But others don't. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like just a softer version of a black IPA, I guess.
It's really right.
Yeah, it works really well. Sean, your super salted caramel, jam donuts, French waffle, maple syrup, whatever it was. How's that?
James, but I didn't want to influence you earlier. I've also had the dark lager, and you're right. It's not too malty, and I loved it. I thought I'm not a lager fan.
It's really drinkable, isn't it?
It really loved it. So thumbs up for that one, definitely. This beer is all gone, and just like the other beers that I've had from Umbard really are on the money, but without being artificial or created in any way. You do get the soft, subtle chocolate and sort of donutty background. The can's got maybe 8-9 different malts in there. So Umbard, they're not cheating at this. They're not trying to trick anyone. And that is a proper beer. Looking at the can, you could certainly with some breweries, you look at those ingredients on the front of a can and think that's going to taste very artificial. But this doesn't. It's a proper beer, and it was absolutely delicious. And at 7%, just bang on in terms of mouthfeel as well, which I always tend to overemphasize in terms of my enjoyment of a beer. But brilliant. They know what they're doing down there, definitely.
Good stuff. And Robin, what was yours like?
Yeah, it was really nice. I think, again, like we said earlier about the darker alcohol-free beers have been something that's struggled a bit, but yeah, it had lovely, nice mouthfeel. It was kind of malty, chocolatey, a brown ale, but kind of pushing towards maybe more like a sort of darker stout. Really nice. I had it a few times now. I sent it out in the boxes before Christmas, and they went down really well as well. Really lovely winter beer.
Good stuff. Right, one last thing for us to do, and that is our beer selfie. Grab your cans, bottles, and whatnot, and give it a little hold up. There we go. That's good. And that's going to wrap us up. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. Happy New Year. Keep your head up through lockdown. I know it's difficult times at the moment, but as Sean quite rightly points towards, we've got the summer fast approaching. It will be here before we know it, and lots of stuff to look forward to during the summer. So keep your heads up, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. See you then.
Bye.
Leave that really late one in.